right, so now we're going to talk about looping through arrays. And we'll start off with a one-dimensional array. And if I want to go through every value of an array and possibly do something with those values, I have to do a loop. And with a one-dimensional array, I just need a single for loop. All right, so let's look at the following code and see if we can figure out what's going to happen here. I have a very simple vector, x. It only has 5 entries. My for loop says for k equal 1 to the length of x. X has 5 entries, so that's literally the same as saying for k equal 1 to 5. After that, I have a conditional statement. Now, you guys have already seen loops. You've already seen conditional statements. The only thing that's new here is this indexing into a vector. So let's see what happens. So we're going to walk through this. When k is equal to 1, right, for k equal to 1, if x of 1 is less than 0. Is x of 1 less than 0? Well, yeah, x of 1 is negative 1. So that is less than 0. The condition is true. So I overwrite x of 1. And I put a 0 in that spot. So now the minus 1 in entry 1 has been replaced by a 0. I loop around again. Now k is 2. Now I'm looking at x of 2. Is x of 2 less than 0? No, x of 2 is 3. So what happens? Skips the conditional, skips to the end, goes back around the loop. So entry 2 stays the same. Third time around. Now I'm looking at x of 3. Is x of 3 less than 0? Nope, it's 5, so nothing happens. Fourth time around, is x of 4 less than 0? Yeah, it is. It's minus 7. So again, I'm going to overwrite the fourth entry in x with a 0. Finally, fifth time around, x of 5 is 53. That's certainly not less than 0, so nothing happens to the fifth entry of x. I am now done with the loop. I've looped completely through the vector x, and so now I hit those display statements, and I see x is now, and you can see that what's happened in this simple piece of code is all the negative entries in x have been replaced by zeros. Now let's look at looping through a matrix. If I want to go through every entry of a two-dimensional array or a matrix, I have to use a nested loop. All right, so let's take a look at this, and then we're going to track through it. So I have a matrix A, and this particular matrix has 3 rows and 3 columns. I'm going to use the size command. Total rows, total columns equals size of A. So my variable total rows will be 3, and my variable total COLS will also be 3. And then I'm going to make a loop. For R equal 1 to the total number of rows. For C equal 1 to the total number of rows. And I have an if-else statement in between. Again, nested loops is a concept that you've already seen. The conditional if, else, is also a concept that you've already seen. The only thing that's different here is this idea of having a matrix and indexing into that matrix and looking at the individual entries. So let's see how this works. Well, you know, the first time through, R is going to be equal to 1, C is going to be equal to 1. So I'm looking at A1, 1. Is the first entry A1, 1 less than 0? Well, yeah, it is. It's minus 1. All right, so what happens? Oh, I create this brand new matrix called B, and I set B1, 1 equal to 0. So B becomes 0. Now I go back again, and I'm still in the inside loop. Remember, the inside loop has to spin all the way around before you get to go back to the outer loop. So now I'm still on row 1, but I've moved over to column number 2. Is A1, 2 less than 0? Well, first row, second column of A is 3. That's not less than 0. So I go down to the else if statement. Is A1, 2 greater than 5? Nope, 3 is not greater than 5. So I go to the else. And the else says, all right, then set B1, 2 exactly equal to what A1, 2 is. So B1, 2 becomes 3, a match to the A entry. still in the inside loop. So I'm still on row 1. I have moved to column 3. Is A1, 3 less than 0? Nope, it's 5. Is it greater than 5? No, it's 5. So B1, 3 gets set exactly equal to the value of A1, 3, and it becomes 5. I have now finished cycling all the way through the inside loop. I've gone from C = 1 to 3, so I'm now returning up to the top of the outside loop, and I'm going to move from row 1 to row 2. So now I'm at row 2, column 1, and in row 2, column 1, A is 6. So A2, 1 is 6. That's certainly not less than 0. However, it is bigger than 5. So B2, 1, row 2, column 1 of B is going to be set equal to 5. And now here's what B is. Now notice, we've only set B2, 1 equal to 5, but Matlab has gone in and set 2, 2 equal to 0 and 2, 3 equal to 0, even though we haven't looked at those entries of A yet. Why is that? Well, remember earlier we said if you're going to enter a matrix in, all of your rows have to have the same number of values. You can't have row 1 have 3 values in it and row 2 have 1 value in it. So Matlab goes ahead and enters zeros in as placeholders so that row 2 has exactly the same number of values as row 1. So now we get to row 2, column 2, and if I look at that, it's -4, so it is less than 0, so B22 will be set to 0, which represents no change from where we were before. I'm now at row 2, column 3. That value is a 3. It's not less than 0. It's not greater than 5. So that last entry in row 2 of B is going to be set equal to 3. Now I've completely finished row 2. My inside loop is done again. I return to the outside loop and I move on to row 3. Row 3, column 1 is 4. That is not less than 0. It is not greater than 5. So we put 4 into row 3, column 1 of matrix B. Again, I can see the placeholders for the other 2 columns, so that row has exactly the same number of values. Hit column 2. -2 is less than 0. Put a 0 in that spot. Finally, last entry, we've hit row 3, column 3. That's a 10. It is not less than 0. It is greater than 5, so we put a 5 in that spot. Now, in this particular loop, our outside loop scans through the rows. Our inside loop scans through the columns. Okay, so I do all of row 1 first, then all of row 2, then all of row 3. If you took those 2 for statements and you just flip-flop them, you get exactly the same output for matrix B. It would just go down column 1, then go down column 2, then go down column 3. You get exactly the same result. It would just be done in a different order.